Just give us a bit of historical context, if you can, about why Sweden and Finland are not members of NATO when, you know, a lot of European countries have signed up already.
Well, the easiest one to look at and puts it really in context is Finland, because, of course, the word Finlandisation became a noun in the British language after the Winter War of November 39 to March 40. And Finlandisation actually meant that a powerful country would caveat the sovereignty of a neighbouring country, particularly its foreign policy. And that is why the states of Eastern and Central Europe determined that they wanted to break away from Russia in the demise of the Soviet Union, because they feared a revanchist authoritarian Russia, which is what we're seeing. So there was a push factor in that they didn't want to be part of the Russian empire and in the orbit of Russia, and the pull factor of NATO, because NATO would support them. The core role of NATO is not as a collective security organization. It is as an organisation which will defend the sovereignty of its members if one is attacked. And what the assault in Ukraine has actually done is energise the domestic politics of both Finland and Russia and given the approval rating to join NATO. And it's reinforced the perceptions of Russia as a country which cannot be trusted, and therefore they want their sovereignty to be guaranteed by other people. The same in a way that Ukraine does, because it's still in Ukraine's constitution at the moment that they want to join NATO. And it is still the case that Ukraine would also like to join the EU. Both of those things would Moscow would fear, because I think one of the things that Moscow fears is actually not just Ukraine moving to the West, but it's the West moving towards Russia, and that the kleptocrats and the way that the authoritarian state in Russia works would be called out.
And so the response, and we heard this, didn't we, from Dmitry Medvedev today, they say is going to be pretty strong. They're not terribly happy. I mean, what is that? Is that potentially nuclear submarines in the Baltic Sea, for example?
Well, it might be. I mean, what you have to be careful of is going for the maximalist sort of position, as lots of media outlets do, in saying that this is, you know, he's going to use nuclear weapons or something like that. Medvedev didn't say that at all. He said he would reinforce the Baltic area, including deployment potentially of nuclear weapons in that area. That's a completely different thing than saying that we're going to put sort of nuclear forces at strike alert or anything like that. It just reinforces the fact, though, that it's Russia who wants to be the country which determines what its neighbours do. And Finland and Sweden don't want their sovereignty caveated by Russia. They want to be able to make their own decisions in the same way that Ukraine wants to make its own decisions. And that's what should be happening in the sovereign world. That's actually what the Budapest Memorandum of 1994 was supposed to do in guaranteeing the independence of Ukraine, and also what the Helsinki Agreement in 1975, which Russia signed up to again to establish the OSCE, the Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe, did, when that also guaranteed the borders of all sovereign states in Europe. Both of those Russia has attempted to tear up and rewrite the security architecture of Europe. It is not for Russia to do that.
And just very finally, Chip, let's look at the conflict itself. Lots of reports overnight that one of the flagship warship of the Russians in the Black Sea had been sunk or certainly badly damaged. Russia, I see this afternoon, is saying, the Defence Ministry, that the ship is still afloat, denied it's been attacked by Ukrainian forces, though it's been reported that Turkish and Romanian authorities have confirmed the ship has been sunk. Either way, this seems to be a pretty bitter blow for the Russians again.
Yeah, the first thing I'd say is that there are always four sides to a story: your side, their side, the truth, and what really happened. And that's from Russo, of course, and we'll find out that. But you can't hide what happened here. It's either damaged, it's sinking, or it's sunk. It either was sinking or sunk by Ukrainian Neptune missiles. I don't take the line from Russia that it could have been an ammunition accident and the crew all safely evacuated. I mean, that would show just terrible procedural naval drills, that you weren't able to do any damage control and firefighting. I cannot believe, with the weather and sea state, that they successfully got 500 people off without doing some damage control and firefighting. We will know what the truth is in this. And if it happens, there's serious consequences, because what it really shows is the ability of the Ukrainians to reach out and strike across the maritime flank. And it really puts the death knell on any idea of Odessa being an amphibious operation by the Russians in the future.
Welcome to the GB News